Today, I am going to be talking about the art of being yourself. Yeah. So basically, I believe that being yourself is the best thing that you can do when it comes to self mastery, self actualization, self knowledge, self discovery. What else? Self evolution, etc., etc. Anything to do with you, with self, is basically the answer to all of your problems, right? Just be yourself, right? So I know it's not that simple and it's not that black and white, which is, wow, the quality on here is, nah. But it's okay. I feel like it's a luxury. It's low key your birthright, right? Like you kind of were born into you were born into a realm where you could literally use your free will however you deem fit. And whenever you come into this world and you are created via essence and flesh, via intercourse of two other human beings, which is kind of crazy concept in itself. Whenever you and your flesh mend or decide to come as one, is when you are created, right? So that's the self aspect of being yourself, right? And if you know that you are using self, because a lot of people don't know that they're not operating from self, they're operating from some other installation or update that was installed within them at an early age, or in adolescence, or just random. They could have driven by the same billboard on the way to school for 15 years straight, and now they think that their favorite color is purple when it was just a purple billboard, right? Like, because the lack of acknowledgement, or the lack of how, or the know-how to acknowledge like self or to recognize self is there's a disconnect, and that's okay. I think that that's why like I'm having this conversation in like real life as well. People are having this conversation because I think that, well, no, I think that I know that the all is that's what we're doing here, is basically experiencing life and each other and ourselves so that we can then kind of get that informative kind of feedback, like to know what our likes and our dislikes are, or to know, what to do next, know right from wrong, to use your discernment, and et cetera, whatever else you would utilize self for, which is honestly everything. And I'm not gonna sit and list everything, but yeah, when it comes to like identifying if you are, I guess I could use the phrase tapped in. If you want to identify if you are tapped in, you can basically just start by, what is your avatar doing, right? Like, what is your flesh, your skin suit? What are you doing? Being a drip of source here in this 3D reality, what is it that you exude, right? What is your essence and your flesh co-create in this realm? What is it that you like? What is it that you do? A good way to recognize self is by grounding, right? So like literally, I see kind of why like the spiritual side of the internet, there are different tactics that they have of, like go put your feet in the grass. And I don't think that that is so much of the spiritual aspect as much as it is the self aspect, which is spiritual and physical, right? So it's not just spiritual, and it's not just physical. I feel like it should be used to recognize that combination, which is self, right? So I think that that's where that confusion kind of comes in, where people are like, well, I don't know what to do, or I grounded, I went outside and I put my feet in the grass and I didn't feel an electrical charge. You're using the grounding for the wrong thing. I feel like the grounding should be used for the foundational aspect of self, right? So to recognize or become aware of self, you need to ground, right? This is the way I see it, right? So this is ground, this is you. You're on the ground, right? I feel like in terms of grounding, it's not necessarily what you feel from the ground, or like, an electrical charge through it. Not saying that that's not possible. That's just not the point. I think it's more of like, okay, I have feet. This is the ground. Okay. Okay, I'm real, right? You're on the ground and you're on the ground and you're real, and you're here, you're present, you have your pain receptors. You can, when they say pinch yourself, that's the part where the grounding part is pinching yourself, right? It's to bring you back to earth, to whoever, right? So that foundational aspect of self, and knowing if you are operating from self in order to be yourself, is to know and to acknowledge self. You can do that by grounding and like self-reflection, like literally looking in the mirror, sitting in a camera, you know, recognizing who you are, what you like, how you feel. Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel fearful? Do you feel separated from, super glued to, detached from? What are you feeling, right? How are you feeling? Because basically that's gonna determine a lot of who you are and a lot of how you're able to recognize self. Okay, so the next kind of a layer to this, I like to think, I think of like awareness would be like the next layer, right? So once you, oh, okay, no, let me finish with self. So there was one more point that I did want to make when it comes to self. So in terms of self, you can think, or a tool that you can use to acknowledge self would be to recognize if you are operating out of your truer self, or if you're operating out of a program, or which is everything. We're all programmed by something. Either you're doing the either you're doing the programming, or they're doing the programming. Who they are, that's the point. Like, why would you want some stranger programming you? You don't know who they are. But I digress. So that's why I'm stressing the importance of just being yourself, because once you know who you are, then you will know when, okay, that wasn't me, or that must have been somewhere in my subconscious that I picked up from, because, you know, we're getting ads and we're seeing things and words and interacting with hundreds and thousands of people a day. So on top of the thoughts that we have as a collective, share, exchange, suppress, etc., etc. So this is a good way to kind of acknowledge not only if you are operating at your best self, or as yourself, or if someone else is or isn't operating as their self or their best self. So basically, I kind of think of it as like that game character, like a game character, like a Wii character, or like is it NBA, the NBA game. 2K, I think it is, where like my brother will get up from the computer or the TV or something, and I would look at, I'll be looking at it, and then the person's just swaying, like waiting for him to come back and command, or control the character, right? And I see the cool thing about us is I feel like, yeah, we're characters as well, and God is, working through us. But I also know that we're susceptible to many other things, being able to energetically work through us, but also that a lot of people are out here not inside of their flesh. They're not, and I can't say they're not fully there, because they're not there, because they are clearly there. They're alive. They're clearly there in their lives, so that's some form of like existence, but they're not there at their full capacity, right? So like, yeah, if this is like the typical operating human being, this is optimal operation. It looks just kind of like a body. So just kind of imagine that, this is optimal form. Actually, this would be optimal form. This is right under optimal form, right? And if we're going to compare it to, this is a fully functioning adult human who is fairly wealthy, is fairly disciplined, is fairly self. They're entirely themselves, right? And this is the version of humans who, this is their essence. They're only using this much of their essence, versus this person who's using that much of their essence. This is how I see human beings. Like, this is actually the perfect representation of how I see people, right? I don't see color. I don't see, duh, I see it. But how I assess another being, is just like that, literally. Water bottles. I see people as liquid, like water. And their essence, people don't use enough of their essence, basically. People don't think that matters. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if they just don't care, or they don't know to care. They don't know how to care, but I see it a lot, and it is a very strange occurrence. I don't understand how you could be so invested in so many other things and so many other aspects of life, but you're not invested in yourself. Doesn't make sense to me. There's so much backwardness in life. I'm just happy that I have eyes that see, ears that hear, and a mind that knows, because I feel like it's scarier. Well, I guess, yeah, it's true. People fear what they don't know. People fear, and people fear themselves. Yeah, like when it comes to knowing, recognizing, and acknowledging self, you have to start with, of course, your essence and being yourself. So you have to acknowledge you. Get in front of a mirror, say your name, talk to your essence. That's what I do. That's what works for me. Yeah. So, okay. The next aspect of being yourself, I believe, would be awareness. So after you recognize self, you need awareness. Awareness is basically just being aware, right? I'm aware that this brush is here. I'm aware, you know how people have products. They don't know that the products are like, do this certain thing after so long. I'm very aware that my brush, I can take it apart and, you know, clean it and, you know, blase, blase. I'm aware that that's what my brush is capable of, right? Texture, right? I'm aware of the texture. I'm aware of the color. I'm aware of the smell of it. If it's roses, I smell it. I'm aware of it. I acknowledge it. I'm aware, or I am acknowledging its existence is basically what awareness is. I'm actually gonna look that up just so that I can see how close I got to the definition. So awareness means knowledge or perception of a situation or fact. So basically what I said, knowledge or perception of a situation or fact, basically exactly what I just said. Yeah, I mean, again, we could go on and on, give multiple examples, but I'm not gonna do that for the sake of time. So awareness basically is the second most important part of being yourself, because you need to be aware of who you are, what you are, why you are, right? And how you are. A good example of this I experience, I feel like, on a day-to-day basis, because I was made so self-aware at such a young age by other people's remarks, other people's opinions, other people's commentary, their ignorance, their dumbness. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of layers and a lot of aspects that play into why people highlight other people, right? But, or, you know, highlight things about other people which cause people to be self-aware. I think the opposite of being self-aware, you know, the polarity of it is being self-conscious. And being self-conscious is just being self-aware misplaced, you know, or being aware misplaced. So yeah, when it comes to awareness, you want to be aware of things like able to recognize the speed at which someone else is going. Dog is wailing because it's hungry, or because you're on its tail, or, you know, I don't know, like if you're standing under a falling bridge, you know, that type of awareness is what you would then transition to, which is my next point, is self-awareness. And that's when you couple them, because I feel like self and awareness are two completely different things. And they are for the purpose and strictly for the fact of the example that I gave earlier, being that people are out here and they are not at the computer. They're not at the controller controlling the character, right? So that's because their awareness has shifted, their attention has shifted, right? So therefore they can't be the same thing. They're not. And put it together and talk about self-awareness, that would be, so I can give an example for this. Like, I remember this one time I was in Costco, and there was this woman who was, okay, it was a very, very strange interaction or experience. Since in the store was really what threw it off, because I typically catch things like this. Like I told you, I'm hyper aware. It's really weird, but I typically catch things like this, but I'll practice not, and if that makes sense. But this was one of those things, like I just kind of like looked up and it was in my face, right? Anywho, I walked in the place and immediately it was like 2 or 3 people, but specifically this one lady. I mean, it was like you would have thought I came in and I just pointed at everything wrong with her. You would have thought like somebody was like, oh my God, all of a sudden your hair is not done, your breath stinks, your fly's open. Like she was like, you know, like pulled out her phone. Like it was really weird. And I'm not saying that it was necessarily directly, what's the word? Because of me, I'm not saying that I think it. No, I know it. Humans are very, very predictable. Your patterns are predictable because you're not self-aware. So therefore, people like me and many other people who are much, much more immersed in topics and subjects like these are walking around reading people easier than I am. Okay, we know, and we're more aware of you and your presence than you are. So that leads me to say self-awareness is what that woman could have used rather than self-conscious, right? Being self-conscious in a bad or negative way. So yeah, it kind of, to mitigate being on that end of the spectrum and being on the end that where you shift the energy when you walk in the room, you're gonna have to be more self-aware. Because I could have easily been that woman, and I probably didn't even know it because I wasn't self-aware or self-aware enough, right? Because at a certain point in time, like, I was a really, really self-aware child, and I think that led me being around environment and being around people who did not know what to do with that type of energy or that type of person or personality. It led me to kind of regress and kind of go back. I kind of created a version of me that was like lesser than I am now. And yeah, I would whip her out, switch her out for me at any given moment, because it was easier to deal with people and easier to, please people. But at this point in my life, like, again, I need to be myself. That's the only way that I'm going to be able to operate at my highest, self, is to take note. I need to be aware of who I am, right? So yeah, and I don't want to be on that end spectrum of self-conscious in a way that another beautiful woman, mind you, that woman was absolutely gorgeous. And the reason I use that as an example, because she was so beautiful. And I'm not the type of person who, like, this happens in the gym too. Not only is my energy a lot, my happiness, my joy, my peace with how I look, with who I am. But yeah, if they were to just trade out their self-consciousness for self-awareness, be confident. When you really think about it, we're on a floating rock. We're in the universe. We're on a big floating rock, probably rock/organism. Who gives a flying flipping? Be yourself. Actually, do what you want to do. You don't even have to be yourself. Don't take my advice. Don't. And let whatever work through you. Okay? So remember, we are in the universe on a floating rock/organism /disc/globe/whatever. And it doesn't matter. Again, you can literally just be nothing. But that's the thing. I think that that's the cool aspect of it, is that we have free will and we have the ability to choose. Some days I don't want to do anything, so I'm not going to do anything. Some days I want to do it all, and I'm going to do it all and then some. But that's because I have free will. People feel like it's easier to externalize their power and give it away because they feel like their power is baggage. And I feel like they feel like their power is baggage because they feel like they themselves, which is what your power is, they feel like it's baggage. They feel like it's baggage because whenever they come home from a long day at work, and for child and parent is not happy that child is happy. Child is being self. So it's like, why are you existing? Like, what? Like, you think that your energy was more important being used for somebody else's dream than your child's energy being happy because they're just simply alive? You got to be out your rabbit behind mine, because that's not it. Like, no, I've seen it too many times. It's not it. It's not acceptable. It's not the norm. We're not normalizing it. It's the norm for some people, but we know where those people reside. We know the type of lifestyle that those people live and reside. We know the type of lifestyle that those people live, and you can't save everybody. Not everybody wants to be saved. Not everybody wants to recognize themselves. There was a point where I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror. I didn't want to because it was a very short point, but I was bullied, or the attempt of bullying so much in a short period of time, at one point in time in my life, that I was looking at myself like, whoa, like, am I not seeing what I'm seeing? I'm like, which is how, us as individuals, how we can affect each other. We can change each other's brain chemistry. We can power each other up, or we can pull each other down. And I think that because some people experience that negative parent who thinks that their energy is only for work or only for things outside of them, because they don't know what to do with it and they don't know how to harness it. They don't know how to be themselves. They'd rather go get a script, go to work, and get chump change to pay for the one thing that they knew how to do, which was have sex. right? Like, think about it. If we're gonna be honest, that's typically what people do. That's typically as far as people go. So if this is the water, if this is the water bottle is human, right? They'll go this far. Mind you, this is the body. This is the human body. Let's just pretend it's the human body. They'll stop at the PP or the P. They'll stop at the body part. They'll have some sex, they'll have a child, and that's it. They hang it up. I don't know who I am no more. I'm gonna go build somebody else's dream. Yep, I'm gonna do some drugs, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna do all this, every single night. I'm gonna ignore my child until they get of age to raise themselves, and then they're gonna become a degenerate. Yeah, I give up. And all you have to do is untap a little bit more of your essence and tap into yourself and grow and love yourself so you can be the full package, so you can get the fullness out of life. Come on, y'all. And again, when I touched on how, you know, these two people could be in the same room, right? And I would gravitate towards this person more than this person because this person is full of love, full of life, full of whoever they are. Whereas this person is not full. They got a little essence in them. I know they could possibly, potentially be a decent person, but who knows? Because the rest of that is being filtered filled with whatever the heck, anything that comes its way, sways with the wind, just useless, in a way, honestly. But we're human and we're technology capable of reproducing. So we kind of get confused with, that's me, that's who I am. That's literally one aspect of you. That's it. That's the best you think you can do is create a child. That's the best you think you can do. I feel like that's the easiest form of creation. The process is not easy, no. I mean, initially it is, but the waiting process, right? Which I think I have my theories on what that waiting process is supposed to be for, which is, i.e. being yourself. I think you're supposed to, I theorize that pregnancy, that waiting period is for the mother and the father to tap into who they are more, like to learn themselves more, to be more in tune with their body, because there is no other point in life that we get a break like that. And even then, men don't fully experience the break. Women don't even fully experience the break. I feel like it's an opportunity and an excuse in a way to be like really, really all about self, all about the foundational aspects of whatever the heck it is you guys got going on, right? But anyways, what I was using the example of the water bottles and people being in the same room is that we can either knock each other down and pour our essence out of each other, our essence out of each other, or we can collaborate and, you know, imagine this bottle being filled up, energy exchange so that we can all help each other out, right? So I know that not everybody who needs to necessarily watch this video will see this video. Not everybody who necessarily will even understand where I'm coming from or what I'm saying. But for those who do, then it is your natural born right to go exist and be yourself and exude exactly what I'm talking about, exude being you. Because then your neighbor, your partner, your brother, your sister, they're gonna be like, oh wait, that's how you normalize something. Make it normal by doing it. That's it. There's no other way to normalize anything other than being that of which is not normal or not common, right? So, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. So, yeah, and I can understand why, again, this is why I kind of gave that brief example. I understand why it can be difficult to be yourself. We give each other all these complexes and put all these dis-eases in each other's lives, and we distract each other. So people energy harvest and don't even realize that they're doing it because we're literally just big bundles of energy walking around here on earth trying to figure it out, right? I think that once you switch out trying to figure it out for self-awareness, it'll take out the guesswork of you enjoying the journey, because it's a journey, right? And no, you're not perfect, and the all knows that. You can be complete, you can complete different levels of yourself, but I don't think that the perfection that we have put a definition to or in terms of is not the same as what the actuality of perfection is, because then you would know that you're perfect, right? A good, fulfilled, fantastical, outrageously abundant life, then there's going to be somebody out there that is just not, they're capable, but they're not willing to utilize those free will points for self-growth. They'd just rather go buy liquor, probably, and, you know, other things. So yeah, we have to be careful who we hang around, what we allow in our psyches, in our minds. That's what the part of being self-aware is so that you, again, I don't know if I use that example in this video or another, but being self-aware is to know yourself to the degree of which you know why that's your favorite color. You know how you came across this. You know why you're responding in this manner. You know why you're aware, you're self-aware. And that's, again, the gist of how to be yourself. Is basically be self-aware. I think that a good example, I don't know, should I turn the light on? Let me try it. Because I can't see. It's getting dark. The sun is going down. I think that, yeah, so that's cool. I don't know. Now, I did go put some light up. Basically, what I was talking about before, I think I was on, this is gonna give an example, right? So I know I mentioned in my very first video that I am random, right? And I have a cousin, one of my cousins, she asked me, she's like, how are you random? Why would you say that? She asked me, she's like, how are you random? I'm like, why would you say that? And I'm like, basically, like, I know that I'm random. Like, I just know because I acknowledge and I'm aware that I do these random things, like, or I have, you know, random thoughts or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's not just like the randomness. It's, how do you explain it? Coming across it is random. Like, I could be in the like, okay, I was in the Galleria when I first realized an aspect of why I like books, right? Okay, let me show y'all an example. Okay, so for this book, right? I love this book. Not just because it's about the universe, not just because it's literally, it's so informative, jam-packed, love it, about a quarter of the way through it. I just got it, but worth every penny. I love it, and it's amazing, right? But aside from it, it's the quality, right? It's the sleekness of it. It's the way that the, you know, the reflective 3D, it's like the slight rays of the picture, the different texture of the picture on the book. Like, what? So to me, this means that I'm a texture girly and that I like this book partly because of the texture, the shape, and the just the way it looks, right? So like even with this book. So yeah, like this book, if you can see, has like this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a ridged kind of, oh, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Skin. Another really good example. I don't know if you can see the texture on that. Texture girly, that's me. And I figured this out, like, I want to say like, this is a few years ago. But whenever I was in the Galleria, I was getting my watch adjusted, and I was sitting there and I was like the material of one of the bags, I think, is what reminded me of one of my like journals or something. And I was like, oh, that's probably why I like, you know, something about it. I don't know. Some of my favorite journals. I have this in blue, and it's funny enough, like another one. This is, the material is like, I don't know, it's like soft, like, it's like a sock or a sheet, right? It's like a bed sheet. Super, super soft. These two were bought for me. These were bought. Like, they didn't just get me a regular, like, I don't know if they know that I like textured things, but they could have easily gotten me like a regular journal, then, you know, but I guess, I don't know, but they were spot on, and I love the journals. That's just an example of me being self-aware to an extent that I know down to the reason I like certain books, and to be yourself. Some other examples really quickly why I like certain types of books. So like this book, I liked it because it was kind of square. It's not a typical shaped like rectangle book, and the spine is super neat spine. I love it. It's interesting, right? Here's another square book. It's square. Like, these two books are in a similar category to me when it comes to the material, right? And then when it comes to the spine as well, they're similar, right? These could go on a table, like a centerpiece. It can be used as like decoration, really sturdy, really strong material. Plus the information in it is what kind of, yeah, amazing, love it. Anywho, and these two are, again, informational as heck, and they are rectangle, and they're in the form of like a paper kind of, yeah, super cool. And yeah, so just be yourself. Honestly, the last step is just do what I just did. Just be yourself. Literally talk about what you want to talk about. Show off your gifts, show off your quirks, show off the things that you like, show your books off, show your pictures off, show your art off. Be yourself, share your voice. I think that is the best aspect of life in general. Is just be yourself, be you. You are the center of your universe. You are the center of your world. Without you, there is no universe. You are the you in your universe. You have to be you before you can create anything, right? Otherwise, you're going to be used to create for other people. And hey, if that's what you want to do it. Do it to the best of your ability. Do it very well. I guarantee you won't be of any use, and they're going to go use somebody else. So at least if you're going to settle for being somebody else's little worker, then do it well, right? Be the best version of whatever it is you're going to be. Be the best version of it so that you can feel fulfilled in that life. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next video.